So we're starting the recording and I'm spotlighting Paul. So if you want to speak and don't want your face to show, it shouldn't. If you still don't feel safe, just turn your
off your
camera
camera.
off and you can speak then and we just hear your voice.
However, we are going to identify you and turn you into the FBI. They need nice people to interact with.
Right? I was hoping we could send them to the circus.
The circles.
The
Haven't you ever,
circles.
when you were a kid, didn't you want to run away and join the circles?
Yeah, that's where we are.
Well, for those of you who can't tell, I'm having a shaky day today. So I'll go back to my first original joke. I'm here to shake things up, and we will. Well, I've got some thoughts, as usual. What would you guys like to do? Well, do you have any questions in mind or in body?
Paul, I have a question. I have two questions actually, and I'll gladly cave to anybody else's question if somebody else has one. But I'd love for you to speak again to love and power and how they're connected, and also I'd love to know if I should be doing one thing every day to
Yes, you
try
should.
and train my body.
I don't know which
Which
one or which day, but you should do something every day. We'll come up with something more sensible in a moment. What's the official title of this circle for this go around? Anybody remember?
I remember, but I'm the one who typed it in the schedule, so that would be cheating.
Cheating is good. Anything worth doing is worth cheating at. So tell us, please, Virginia.
So it's an embodied method for reducing injustice and violence in the world.
Okay. I was thinking of what's the relationship between combat efficiency, forgiveness, and love, and intimacy. I bet you never heard all those put together in the same.
Wait, Paul, could you say that again so I can get that question in the chat? Give me that one more time. What's the
What's the relationship
relationship?
between combat efficiency, hand-to-hand combat, of course, forgiveness, intimacy, and love? You know what I would advise?
Thanks.
Start by asking me to define my terms.
Paul, would you define your terms?
No, I'll leave that to you guys.
All right, everybody, start defining. Off we go. I'll type.
Acceptance is another good one in there. Remember, I don't understand big words. It has to be something about the body.
Combat efficiency, I'd say, is being able to remain physically healthy and by producing the least harm to the other person's physical body.
True enough, but irrelevant to my purposes. For your purposes, it's an excellent definition. How do you know what my purposes are? You'll find out.
We have in the chat physical space as an answer. That's from Quentin, or Q. Sorry, I'm just going to use the first initial. My apologies. I'll do my best to keep everyone anonymous.
That's an excellent idea. What do you mean by spacious, physical spaciousness? And how does that affect anything? When would you not have it? And how would you make it if you didn't have it? What did you just see me do?
It's stillness.
That's what creates spaciousness. I don't yet have the bandwidth to talk to people and do what's necessary inside to still the tremors. But they're an excellent practice. I keep them with me all the time. So what does that have, what does calmness, quietness, and spaciousness, how do those relate?
We have a comment in the chat, coming to your center.
Pardon? Amplify.
Kay, who wrote that in the chat, if you'd like to unmute and say what you mean by coming to your center.
You mean my studio? Words are slippery little devils. They can always mean something different from what you meant them to mean.
I think that coming to your center is coming to your true self, like the stillness we have inside of us.
What is a true self as opposed to a false self? For that matter, what is a self? I've never seen one. When you talk to ignorant people like me, you got to be really specific, or I'll understand something incorrect by your words. If it were easy, it wouldn't be so hard.
Looking for your inner stillness, maybe?
As opposed to my outer stillness. How do you separate them? With a guillotine, I guess. It's very easy to say what you mean. It's very hard to make sure what you mean says what you mean to say. See, that sounds like a slogan of some kind.
So I don't have the answer.
Yes, you do, but you don't know it yet. You will. I've lost
all the things that you said can be tested in physical space.
Yes,
by
right.
the feedback that the body has, by the feedback that the body is receiving.
Right. Say more.
You're receiving sensations from a concept that your body is receiving on a physical level, and the concept doesn't have to have actual provable physical matter, but you're also receiving sensations. The body is also receiving sensations. The sense, the eyes, the ears, the nose, sense of touch. You're all receiving things from physical experience too. Good. Well, to me, that means that if you're receiving that, you're receiving it in a physical space, then space is always there, is always available. The body feels that something is always happening in some physical space.
Boy, that gets me confused again. Let me see what I thought you said. I think. What I think you were starting off to say was the brain doesn't distinguish between events in the outside and the imagination of those events. So you get the similar responses to either. Is that where you were going?
Said much better than I did, yes.
I've made a lot of mistakes for 50 years, so I've eliminated a lot of ways of saying that aren't clear. Okay, one, and then I think what you meant to say.
Wait, Paul, could you repeat that? What you think he meant to say? The brain doesn't distinguish between physical responses to the outside?
It doesn't distinguish between input from the physical outside and the imagined or memory of input. It elicits much the same response in the body. So let's try something. If you say, think of something that you really hate that makes you feel terrible. If I were to come up and bite your nose, that would be pretty terrible. What would you do? What would you feel?
I've been in your circles before and I physically went back still. It still gets me. I physically went back.
Is there any reason for that? Literally? No, I couldn't bite you if I wanted to. And I don't really want to, but I tried anyway. And now shut your eyes and think about this weirdo guy from America coming up and trying to bite your nose. What did you just do? Can anybody see it? I don't know if they can see you, Virginia. You retreated slightly. So your memory of the event and the actual event, the brain has much the same response. So that was a good start. Now, if you test the responses, some work well and some don't. What's your need for efficient combat in a martial art, for example, in Aikido in particular? If you're angry, do you fight well?
No.
Why
You
not?
need a, because it's interfering. It's interference. It's not reality.
It is reality, but it's interference also. What is
Okay.
interference?
It's
What?
not. If I'm in a fight, well, I've been in a couple fights, and when I'm in the middle of a fight, I don't really have time to. It's not that I want to experience anger. I haven't. Most of the fights I've been in, I can't recall really experiencing anger. It just wasn't dominant. It just went in and went out, and then the training took over.
Good, that's why we train. And we train for what? I think culturally we get angry. Fight for the justice. Kill the people who disagree with you. Down with this, down with that. We get angry about anger. Let's get rid of anger. And what does that do to the body? It makes it unable to respond well. You can't
Right.
move. How would you test that if you wanted to convince somebody of that?
Do what you just give them a scenario. You would either make them angry, do something that they would perceive would make them angry, or ask them to imagine an angry experience that they've had,
Right.
and
Sorry, you
and
go.
ask them to try to execute a particular move,
Right.
whether it's a move they were familiar with or a move they weren't familiar with.
And if you can't come up with something difficult, come up with something easy. Conduct an orchestra. Everybody conducts something nice, music of some kind that you like. Feel your arms and your shoulders moving. Now, if you hate the person who's going to review your concert, that son of a bitch doesn't like this music. What happens to your shoulders?
Start to ache.
Right. That's called Aikido. So there's a test. When you got angry, you couldn't move. So imagine this guy is going to trash your concert, but you say before you start, I'm going to dedicate this concert to the loving listening of the so-and-so, and you play to make him happy or her happy. How does that affect your shoulders?
I don't know how to use the language because you want to go physical. Is the word override physical language for you?
It is if you tell me what's overriding what.
Okay. The sensations from that intention of what you just said, if I take that on as mine, and I've done something like that before, like with love, for example.
That's exactly
It's not that the other sensation is there, it pushes through, especially if I named it beforehand. But it just pushes through it, or it overrides it.
Overrides is suitably abstract. Pushes through. Does it really push through or evade or trickle through?
It flows through, moves through.
It doesn't push through, it flows through. See, the metaphors our language traps us in.
Mm.
Or do we trap ourselves in our language? It's all metaphor. I've never metaphor I didn't like. See what I'm getting at? So if I really want, Dana's saying, wait. I must have said something intelligent.
I think it's all good. Yeah.
Metaphor. I was foring at you.
Okay, that's semaphore. And you know what you keep semaphores in? You should know this, Virginia. Amphore. We won't go there.
Amphore are the ancient Greek
Grecian
vases.
urns.
Before.
The clay pots.
Apologies to the non-native English speakers. This is going very far off to the linguistic playful side. Thank you, Paul.
Apologies to the native English speakers as well.
So, Paul, you were saying if you really want, so we were conducting.
You have to fight. You do better in a feeling of respect and kindness. And if you feel that, maybe you can get out of it without fighting. Now, this is why I sent the thing to the chat. Could you post it so everybody can read it for a moment? It's just a brief thing.
Would you be in a position to thank the critic for helping you?
Yes, of course. Thank you for pointing out what I did in the last concert. This one will be much better.
We have a few late joiners, just so those of you who are joining know. Those of you who are joining late, you won't be able to see the chat, but it'll all be posted on the Facebook page.
Not quite specific. And sometimes it causes you to find a way to avoiding the fight. Remember I said, if you don't want to fight, if you have to, you'll do it better if you do it with a feeling of respect. That's your post, Dana.
Would you repeat that so I can rewrite?
You really have to fight. You'll fight better if you do it in this feeling of respect and kindness. And if you feel that, you may find a way out without fighting. See how close you were, but not exactly on. It's very difficult to say
Yeah,
this.
that's why this is so hard. If you really have to fight, you'll do it better in a feeling of respect and kindness. And if you do that, you may find out
A way to not fight at all. But if you come and say, I don't want to fight, asshole.
Thank you.
Notice how calmly and friendly like Dana takes being corrected in public.
I learned it from you.
Me?
You.
Oh my. Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does, when you, as the example you gave, or even in a physical fight, when you flow through that experience, does it leave you? Can it leave you in this practices to humanize these so-called darker emotions, humanize the anger, rather than, okay, I've flowed through it, I still think that person is an asshole, but it worked that I said they weren't an asshole.
They may be an asshole, but how do you feel about that? That's my question.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I talked about darker emotions, did I?
No, yeah, I'm bringing in what my language is.
Okay, so help me understand what your question really means.
The question, there is a body of knowledge in the world,
Mm-hmm.
among many systems of thinking, that certain emotions are unwanted, that they should be suppressed
By whom
or
are they?
repressed because they're not quote unquote positive emotions.
I don't know what any of those words mean. I just test them. If you respond to this situation with that feeling, does that make it work better or worse in your terms?
Well, what about, okay, there's certain bad feelings are unwanted.
Bad and unwanted may be very different. You could have a good feeling and you hate feeling.
Okay, unwanted and not useful, or not useful enough.
They're very different. You can test usefulness if you specify what you want to use it for. Unwanted, I don't know what the test would be. Just, do you want them or not? Whatever you say is true.
Okay. So what can anger be used for?
Well, if you don't have anything better like kindness and body awareness and center, it's a survival tool. Anger and fear, they let us attack or run, and we survive that way. But just because we're built that way doesn't mean it's the best way to do it. If you want to intimidate somebody, you can say, "You're," but that may not be the most efficient way to do it. It works often, but that's not a good enough reason to use it, usually. If you hit a child, does that teach the child not to hit? If you're angry, does that teach someone not to be angry?
No.
See, it's so easy to speak the language, and I'd love to talk to people who speak native speakers of other languages. The European languages, I think, mostly work this way. I don't know about other non-European languages. You made me so mad. I would prefer to say I made myself so mad over what you did. See the difference? It's more cumbersome, but I think it's more accurate. And it points at the direction. If you made me mad, I say you should change. And maybe you should. But I have to work on myself. It's very easy to subscribe to a belief. Negative emotions are negative. How do you know? For what? For whom? In what situation? And compared to what? I find that if I just test, if somebody says, what do you do about a sore shoulder? I say, I don't know, show me the person with the shoulder. Every shoulder is different. Every situation is different. See what I'm getting at?
Mhm.
It's cumbersome, but it works a lot better than sweeping generalities.
So how would you define combat effectiveness, Paul?
I just did. How did I define it? Doing the combat in a body state of awareness, relaxation, kindness, strength, balance, and then doing the best you can. And it's far more efficient not to fight, if you can figure that out.
Is there a sense in which if you're forced to fight, it's almost done reluctantly? Because for me, I'm thinking the more I'm in tune with someone's humanity and my love towards them as a fellow human being, the harder I would find it to lay a hand on them.
No,
But
not necessarily. You have to train. Do you know how to lay a hand on someone efficiently to begin with? I'm not just talking about untrained fighting. Do you know what to break when you get close enough to need to, and how?
and is there a sense of reluctance that goes along with it, like a sorrow that it's come to this because
Yes,
you couldn't avoid the fight?
not sorrow so much as compassion, or both in a way. But yes, you're right, I think. I don't know, I've never been in a fight. That must mean I'm doing something right.
You're doing it right. Thank you. Thank you for your answer.
Sure. Thank you for your question. So what does this have to do with intimacy? Now he's gone too far. We're gonna get rid of this. What is intimacy? She's leaving. Oh my goodness.
Can I cheat? Because we were talking about this, so
Of course you can cheat. Anything worth doing is worth cheating at.
I'm cheating everybody because I had this conversation with Paul. And he, if I remember correctly, which I may not, is being aware of my body and also of the other person's body, being
Yeah,
present with myself and with the other, something like that.
that's what I mean by intimacy. You see how that applies to combat as well as love? Are you intimate with somebody if you just are focusing on yourself? You don't care or notice what they feel or do. Or if you focus on them and you forget yourself, is that intimacy? Boy, there's a strange stuff. He's saying the combat is essentially the same as loving. Where did he pick up that weird idea? Yes, it's not so much an idea as a trained experience.
Yeah.
An idea will get you, how far will an idea get you? If you want to think about going to New York, you need to do that to get going, but it won't get you there unless you do something. That's why, as a philosopher, I steer clear of ideas. In fact, we're not even talking about them now, are we? Not in a sense. In a sense, I'm trying to point you at certain possible experiences. And if you know that they're possible, then you might be able to find them. He says as he sits up straight as can be. I think I've finally stunned you all, haven't I? Questions, comments, good jokes? I can tell you the one about the lizard.
Yes, and then your little poem about being in mind and no mind, that one.
That one. I'll start with that one.
Please.
I don't know where it came from. It's not mine. I take no responsibility for it. I'm just repeating it. I'm round? No, that's a different one. I've got the mind of no mind, and I don't mind. I'm as cheerful as God's behind. I've got the mind of no mind. I don't mind. See why I don't publish that poetry.
If I'm going to put that in the chat, you're going to have to say it again one more time, a little more slowly. Can we have a show of hands of who'd like it in the chat? Virginia, can you see everybody? Who wants that in the chat?
Oh my.
Nobody? Paul, it's only with your permission. If you repeat it again, I'll scribe it, but
Okay.
you're way too fast for me to type that damn thing.
I've got the mind of no mind. I've eaten the core and become the rind. I'm as cheerful as God's behind. I've got the mind of no mind. I don't mind. See what happens when you meditate? You open yourself up to supernatural influences.
Okay, let me fix that, and we'll put it up there.
Okay, let's keep going. Why do I indulge in this kind of strange humor? Because it gives the brain a chance to rest after we've undermined your languaging capabilities. It's the chocolate cake theory of education. After you've eaten one chocolate cake, even if it's delicious, give it a rest before you eat the second one. Okay, surely somebody must have a disagreement or a question or something, or an alternative something or other, like fake facts.
I think people are trying to still juggle this idea that combat and intimacy are somehow related and similar. There's this huge collective group pause, and it feels like I'm imagining that everyone's kind of going, whoop, you've taken me apart, and I'm trying to put myself back together again.
As
So,
the Coca-Cola people would say, it's the pause that confuses.
Questions?
Are you are you loving us right now, Paul?
Yes.
How do you test that?
I don't. I can feel it. How would I test it to find out what its results are, you mean?
Yes.
Okay. Let's try something. Okay. I have changed something. How does this feel as I talk to you? What do you feel as I talk this way? Is it different at all? In what way?
It's slightly different.
In what way?
Well, your voice sounds different. It sounds slower.
And what else? If I exaggerate it, how do I feel? How much of a connection is there between us?
I don't the connection. I'm paying more attention. I'm more focused on it because the time my mind is measuring the sounds and the sensations. And
Right.
go,
Do I look the same to you? Do I look as though I'm feeling the same about the people I'm talking to? if I do this, how do I feel now? Is it all different? Now, when I talk from here, does that feel different to you?
It does.
In what way?
It's just the emphasis of how you're using the sounds.
Right, then that's the point. If I feel like this, I'm putting effort into the front of my awareness, and I feel separate from you, and I don't much care about talking to you.
Mm.
If
Yeah,
I do
I get
this,
that.
I let you in, and I enjoy being with you guys. After all, you're not throwing stones at me for those terrible jokes. Sorry, I made you cough or laugh or something.
It sounds like that with the sounds and the volume of your voice, that this is a thing. And so my mind is responding to the attention to the this. But when you say something like you or you guys, all of that energy or attention, my sensations are moving toward that. And so it feels different for me.
Okay, whatever. I'm not sure I followed it, but I think I know what you mean, maybe.
Okay.
Hey, Paul,
Yes.
is there some way that we can try this, like in breakout rooms, like what it was? What the heck did you just do, number one? And number two, how can we try that?
Okay,
That's my request, but I don't know.
brilliant.
Everybody else can vote.
Okay, I'll vote for everybody. This is
What'd you
democracy.
do? Can we try it?
Okay, Dana, if you were coming into my office and you know it's going to ream you out for something somebody else did, but you're not allowed to say that in your own defense, and you just have to stand there and take it, how would you feel about being treated unjustly and horribly?
I would shrink all the way back into my backside and narrow myself, and I'd walk into your office slowly and hesitantly, probably.
That's very common. That's called retreating.
Mm-hmm.
How would you open your body to do the opposite?
I would
Think of
probably do this. I do a lot of thingies. I do a lot of softening.
just one. Let's try
All
just
right.
one. Can you think of
Okay.
something in which you have had the chance to help somebody who is unfair to
Yes.
you? And in doing
Yes.
that, how do you feel?
Soft, open, and expansive, grounded and relaxed. Is that too many words?
That's a lovely bunch of words. You know how different that
Like
is?
coconuts.
Right. If you think of something in which you are feeling what people would call the best self and acting from it in a loving fashion, that will remind you to do it. If you think about the opposite, it will remind you to do it. You break out rooms and try that, see what happens.
Did everyone get that?
Virginia,
We have someone who is, just a moment, I've got it. All right, one more time. Paul, do you want to give us that possibility?
with somebody in a breakout room or somebody, 2 or 3 people in a breakout room, try thinking of something from which you feel pleasure of helping and generosity. And then try thinking of the opposite. See what your body does and what the communication is. Is that clear? It's really very simple. That's why nobody does it.
Yes. Let's see. Virginia, are you here? I don't have you up here on my screen, and we have a question from Hannah. So Virginia, if you, I know I just let you back in. Oh, there you are. Virginia, can you arrange breakout rooms? And we have a question
I
from
can't because
Hannah.
my computer crashed.
Oh,
So
you
if
crashed
you
and I'm
or
host.
Karen
Okay,
and
so
Joe
I'll
can
do
do
that.
that, because I'm on my phone at the
Okay.
moment trying to restart.
Okay, no problem. Why don't we let Hannah ask her question? Karen and Joe, are you in co-host mode that you can create breakout rooms? And Hannah, do you want to unmute yourself? And is everybody good with that? Hannah, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Thank you. I'm more curious about other participants' experience, because Paul, when you change something, I felt it. I don't really normally feel much from the neck down, but I couldn't see anything different in your face. I was trying to discern what changed. I couldn't see a facial expression change. I didn't hear a change in pitch or tone like Quentin did. I'm just curious, did other people, were other participants able to discern something visible or audible, or was it more in the body? That's my question.
Yes.
Yes.
This is not the
So-
body.
Right?
Yeah, all of the things. Yeah, all of it.
Okay, so
All
there's
right,
more for me to work on in terms of what I do see and what I do hear, because there was something to hear.
And see and feel.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you can see it and feel it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, 1 out of 3.
Paul,
Thank you.
Paul, will you give me the instructions again one more time so they're in the chat briefly?
Sure. Think of something that makes you, that reminds you of something generous, kind-hearted, loving, protective, sweet, and notice what happens in your body. Then try to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in that way out loud to your partner in the breakout room. Then think of something that makes you feel the opposite. You've been taken advantage of and you're going to get back at the bastard. And then count. See, if you leave words out and just count out loud, then you don't have the influence of what words you're saying, just the way in which you're saying it. Ask another time, I'll change it again.
Okay, can you read the instructions, Paul, and let me know if that's okay before we go? And Karen and Joe, are you guys okay? Were you able to prep breakout rooms?
It'll be the first time I'm doing it, so if you bear with me, but I'm happy to give it a go.
Yeah, you're all going to end up in the one breakout room.
That's okay. I can do it. I just want to make sure we got the instructions there because Virginia, she is our technical host, but now she's on her phone, so we're gonna do it from internal.
Right.
All right, so the instructions, are they okay, Paul, for you? Anything to add?
No, not at the moment. I'll think of something later.
Okay, does everyone understand the instructions? If not, pop out and ask again. And Karen and Joe, off we go. Have a fun time, everybody. Oh, how long do we want to be there, Paul?
5
You want to
minutes?
sit there for like 5 minutes? Okay,
Sure.
cool. Okay, great.
Okay.
Have fun, everyone.
I'll have a go at this and I'll help you out if it doesn't work.
Yeah. If you
Okay.
end up in a
If
room
it-
on your own,
If
you're
you
on
can't
your
do it
own.
right, if you can't do it right, you're stupid.
Here it goes. Bye,
There it
everyone.
goes. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry about that,
feel
folks.
Oh no, we got it. Everybody feel that surge of anticipation? You did it.
I think they're all in.
And thank you, Karen and Joe. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, it seems to be going fine. So we paused the recording there while there were breakout rooms, and now we're reconvening with Paul in the main room.
Fabulous. We're back.
That was funny.
Is everybody aboard? Comments, thoughts, what did you guys experience or think of, or what did you do? What did you feel?
I am my partner, darn, I forgot what feedback she gave about me, but maybe she'll say something. In terms of the feedback of giving her feedback about what I experienced when she was speaking, my partner did not have did not show her face, so I couldn't use my visual sense. So I had to just use the audible sense. At the end of it, I told her how it made me feel lighter. And then the second one, counting down for the negative person, I did censor myself because I was thinking about it sounded like she was hunting this person down. And then she shared, well, maybe I shouldn't say that, but she shared that I was almost 100% right, that her feelings toward this person had a very physical reaction that was very similar to that. I don't know if it's appropriate to use specifically what she said because I'm used to these.
No, because we are recording. Please only speak about your own experience and what you wish to share about yourself.
Good. So, but in terms of what was reported back to me is that there was a quality of going after something in a straight line. And she reported that that was very, very, very similar to what I was feeling in my body, what I reported was feeling in my body.
Good. If you want to try something that's not possible, blank the sound and the visual and see if you can do that.
In person, can you do it with just touch?
Yes.
Well, touch, smell. Okay, yeah. Yeah.
But I wouldn't take my word for it. Find somebody to touch. You have to wait
Right.
till the vaccine is administered, of course.
Right.
Anybody else? Did it seem to bear out what I was suggesting?
Yeah, I felt, can you hear me?
Yes.
I felt that it was actually, my body was more used to go to the scary embodiment rather than the peaceful embodiment.
I think 11 out of every 10 people might report that.
Mm.
What was it like to go when the positive thing was being felt or sent?
It was, I actually started having a headache straight after. Like the reaction was really strong, and then I had to think about the good thing again to bring me back into balance. And yet, still some headache lingers on a little bit. So I think that's really my body's so used to be in a kind of probably fight flight mode in a way, probably on tense mode, that any excuse is good for the body to go into that tension for some reason.
What do you feel on the right side of the back of your neck?
The right side.
Yeah, this side. Wait, this side.
Yeah, a bit of tension now that you mention.
How does it compare to the other side?
Actually, the other side is more tense.
Okay.
Yeah, the other side is more tense.
Anybody else have any other thoughts about what you experienced in the breakout?
Yeah, that was I didn't think it was going to really do much, but it was, for me, experiencing it. So what was interesting first, I said I'd do the feeling, expansion and love and kindness and those things, and I didn't. I went straight to feeling quite a lot of contraction and difficult things.
That's great.
Yeah, and then I couldn't just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had to stop, and it was actually quite difficult to speak the words, and it was quite stilted, and it was quite hard to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whereas normally that is like, you learn that's the easiest thing to say. So I was like struggling a little bit to speak, and then when I did it with feeling expansion and love and kindness, I still had to, it still wasn't that easy for me just to say it, but it was noticeably gentler and softer. And so I think what I've realized is that I don't when I speak, I'm not actually feeling. I just talk.
Is
I'm
that
not connected.
Is that intimacy or not?
Sorry?
Is that intimacy or not?
Intimacy is feeling it and then speaking. Yeah.
Feeling both ends, the other person and yourself.
Yeah.
See why I connect all those dots together?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would like to share my experience.
Sure.
And it was really nice to notice not only the difference in my body, contraction and expansion, but also I could notice how my voice changed. And when it was something unpleasant I was thinking about, it was like more cold somehow. And it was really nice what I noticed when I was talking to my partner. I felt that it's really nice to have this connection and to be open to see what's going on the other side, and not just the words that the person says, but how the body talks as well. Thank you for this experience.
Thank you for accepting it. Now, mind you, it took me 30 or 40 years to put this stuff together. It's only in the last 10 years that I've been able to express it this efficiently. But I think this is a pretty good time savings. It took you 5 minutes. You see, what if you build on this exercise and a few other very simple ones, when you get to be old, you won't be the same as if you hadn't. It'll be very different. Life would become very different if these were commonly available tools. They're available all over easily, but nobody knows they exist. That's why I've created that handout. It has the 5 basic exercises on opening, love, power, and awareness. And I want to disperse it. So if you want to go get one from my website, send it out to everybody you know. We'll save the world or die trying, right? What are you going to do with this for the next? Oh, by the way, next week is what the. Let me see.
Next week is the 10th of February.
Yeah, I won't be able. Rich and I both have to be elsewhere that day. So do you want to lead one, Dana?
I can talk to Steve and see. Steve could do it. Virginia could do it. I could do it. Lisa could do it.
We could all
Let's
do it.
all get in touch with each other.
You've had more experience for many years of this stuff with me. So I took you first, but any of you could do it.
Sure.
Great.
I'm happy to. Actually, that's a great idea, because I was going to do a small workshop on this the following week for Valentine's Day.
That sounds good to me.
If you all want to experiment together, we could use this as a practice to open towards February 14th and just kind of work through some of the things.
Excellent.
To do that. That sounds like fun. We can just play with power and love, intimacy, connection, and combat.
Right.
And then we'll come back stronger and better on the 17th. Stronger, more loving, more powerful, and more loving on the 17th.
All of which makes no sense by our current cultural definitions. So
that's what we're here for, isn't it? To change save
that.
The world or die trying.
Better yet, save the world and live there. Okay.
Rowena asked, sorry, a person asked, sorry, I'm not doing a very good job of keeping you anonymous. So intimacy with myself before I connect with others, right?
Yes. Or generally speaking, yes. But in detail, I don't know till I see yourself. Do you know what I mean by that answer? If you've been taught to hate yourself, intimacy might be feeling the hatred. Is that intimacy or love? So I never know what anybody means till I watch them use the word while they do it.
So if you've been taught to hate yourself, do you start there? Do you feel the hatred?
I don't know. Which person are you talking about? I have to see the particular person to answer that question. See, everybody wants global answers. Global answers are okay if you want to teach the globe, but I don't think globes do this stuff. That's why I can get such rapid results, because I'm not focused. I speak in such a way that each person plugs in their own specifics. If I said you should all feel this about that, I'd miss 80% of you. Anything else? One last question, or a good joke, either.
Can you tell us, please, what were you doing when you closed your eyes and tried to center and
No,
to stop your
I can't, because we don't share vocabulary. What I was doing was the outgrowth of the exercises we did today, having practiced them for about 40 years. Most Parkinson's people can't. It's such a relief to still the tremors. But I don't have the bandwidth yet to do that while I talk. But if you do the things that I've taught you today for 20 or 30 years, you'll be able to do what I do if you ever need it. Which I hope, of course, you don't. But it is a great hobby. Thank you all.
As you talked, I could even feel like something relaxing in me, just seeing you closing your eyes.
Good. Good. Thank you very much. I appreciate you're willing to come play with me today, kids. Bye-bye.
The whole thing? I think so. And then the only thing, Virginia, is you might want to check the video when you went out.